no changes with that. And again, because this is being streamed live on YouTube, raise your hands. We'll get you in queue for questions for Coach. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Afternoon. Good to see everybody, and hope everybody had a good bye weekend. Actually, 2 bye weekends. Kind of weird that way. That was one strange phenomenon. I'd have 2 straight Saturdays, to watch other games, which is pretty unusual. I can't remember that ever happening. So a little bit different. Just, looking backwards for 1 second, obviously a long trip back from the West Coast. Got back here probably like everybody else, 7 in the morning, something like that on Saturday. Gave our guys a weekend off to rest, and then Monday came in and trained and had a chance to look at the film. So we went back through that, see what we could learn, and then the rest of the week was really geared towards recovery time and getting a couple workouts in and practice, and then we got back at it on Sunday. So that's really kind of where it's at. We're 13 weeks into the season calendar now, which again is a little bit unusual having 2 bye weeks. So the season's a long season, obviously, and but the nuts and bolts of it is just down to 11-day season right now. So we've encouraged our players to focus on. Just want to take a minute and congratulate Caleb Johnson. I guess just got named to the Doak Walker Award semifinalist list, and over the last 10 days had a lot of guys being named, and the offensive line being named to the Joe Moore semifinalist list. So just happy for those guys. Obviously, it's not the finish line, but it's recognition of a job well done. So congratulations to those guys, and obviously we're focused on finishing things up right now. That's the biggest thing for us. Captains for this game will be the same as last game out. We've got Jay and Quinn, Jay Higgins and Quinn Schulte on defensive side, and then you've got Luke Lachey and Logan Jones offensively. So those guys stay the same. Injury-wise, Brennan Sullivan will not be playing. Reese Vanderzee will not be playing. So I don't think that's a new development there. And then getting guys back, we'll have Lachey and Estrangle both been cleared, and they've been able to practice. They'll be back. I think Marco Lanez will be back. And then after that, a few guys are clearly cloudy right now. We'll just kind of see how the week plays out and go from there. But, that's where it kind of stands at this point. And then the last thing of note, just Jeff Bowie has decided he's going to leave the football team, made that decision last week. So he's going to pull back right now and finish up academically. He'll graduate here this spring, and then he's interested in going to another school and taking advantage of his last year. So just one roster update for you there. Transition into Maryland, first thing, talented football team in all 3 phases. Well coached. Mike Loxley's done a great job there. He's been there for quite some time, 6 year as a head coach, 10 years overall in the program. He's from that part of the country and certainly knows that area well, and has done a really nice job of building that program. Been to 3 straight bowls. They've got their staff in place, consistent leadership at the coordinator positions, certainly have an identity offensively, defensively, and special teams wise. So, and we're 10 games into it now. So you really got a chance to look at people and get to know them a little bit. First thing that jumps out at you, just extremely talented on offense. Quarterback, 2 receivers in the top of the Big Ten category. The quarterback's at the Big Ten top of the list, and then their third receiver is a really good football player too, number 5. So you've got a trio of receivers is as good as anybody out there. The quarterback's been really effective, and obviously he's starting this year. In the past, he's come out off the bench and played really well too when their starter couldn't go. So remember seeing him, I think it was against Michigan a year ago or 2 years ago, and doing a really nice job. But nonetheless, just a good football player. Defensively, good size, athleticism, especially up front, and big guys that play extremely hard. So they're formidable. And then it's interesting on the kicking game. They've got a veteran place kicker who's a good football player. Punter is a newcomer, transferred in from a different university and is leading the Big Ten right now in punting. So they've got 2 good specialists there, and then the same thing. They've got good size, good athleticism, and do a good job on special teams. And probably as much as anything, if I could summarize it, a week ago, Saturday, watching them compete against Oregon, it was really impressive. I think the score is a little bit misleading. Oregon got a fumble recovery for a 60-yard touchdown. That kind of, took it out of scale a little bit, but just really impressed just watching them on TV, how they competed. against, arguably the best team in the country, and then in a very tough environment out there. So tells you a lot about their football team, I think, right there. So last couple things here, kid captain. This week we've got Raylyn Miller Ramirez, and she's a 10-year-old from Davenport. And as I've been told, she was going back to school or starting the, back to school deal where they give you the vision test when she was 6 years old. Discovered a tumor in her brain, fast-moving cancerous tumor. And she traveled to Oregon to get that taken care of, and unfortunately it led to blindness. So she's been over at the Stead Family Children's Hospital receiving treatment. And like so often, I think, the unsung heroes, the child life specialists there do just a wonderful job, and family can't say enough about the job that they've done. They've been really helpful with her recovery and her story. She is 4 years cancer-free, happy to say that right now, and I've been told very active in the Girl Scouts, loves the violin. So just, another really good story, and we'll be really proud to represent her and her family this weekend as the game comes up. So I'll close it out there, but, just a couple things. It's November right now, a lot of distractions, especially for our players. And that's my concern right now. It's just, them dealing with all the stuff that might be going on, whether it's, whatever speculation on this and that. And it's always been the case, but there's probably more now than there has been. The climate that we live in right now and social media, all that stuff. So really our encouragement's been pretty simple. It's 11-day season right now, and the only thing that matters right now are these next 5 days, including today. So it's as simple as that. It's kind of like a lot of things in life, and it's a big challenge, I think, in this game is just how well can we get ready for our challenge at noon on Saturday. So I think it is noon. It was 12:01. Now they moved it back to noon. Big strategy. Hopefully I don't have to make any decisions that big on Saturday, but we'll see where it all goes. So I just got that flash this morning, 1 minute adjustment. So just so you guys are aware of that. Don't want you to miss kickoff. Okay.
Hey, Kirk.
How's that happen? Seriously? Okay, fair question. I'll ask the questions. How's that happen? Yeah.
Hey, Kirk. Elliot Clough, Hawkeye Beacon.
Do you have an answer?
I don't.
Okay,
Sorry.
we'll get on it. Okay.
I'll work on it. TV.
Yeah, that's the $1 million answer right there. Times a few.
So, Cade being back at the top of the depth chart, has he been cleared? And if so, what's he
I wrote that
like?
on Sunday. So, he practiced Sunday, and like I said, everything's clearly cloudy right now. That's kind of our forecast, our weather forecast. We'd finally get to practice in rain. I'll throw that in there yesterday. It's the first time it rained without lightning threats. And I think, our radius must be about 80 miles. But anyway, so yeah, we got to work in the rain. But yeah, it clearly is cloudy right now. Everything is. So we'll just take it day by day and see who can go.
John Steppe, the Gazette. I don't have an answer on 12 o'clock or 12:01 either.
Okay, thanks.
But with quarterback, it sounds like this week and next week are no-go for Brendan. Do you see there being any possibility of him playing in the bowl game? And then also with Marco, how much has he been able to really work in practice?
He started back. That's good news. And then, somebody told me yesterday that, Brendan had been pronounced done for the season, which I chuckled because at that point it was a 12-day season. So, talk about headlines, I guess. You're trying to grab attention. Not that you guys write the headlines. I understand that. But, he's out this week. We'll see what next week brings. I'm not optimistic, but I assume the bowl game. But, it's nothing's broken. So hopefully we get him back.
Chad Leistiko, Des Moines Register. Obviously, you knew this day would come once Brian lined up with Maryland. Curious, number one, whatever you can speak to, how his experience has been there, and also just sort of, you've coached against a lot of former, a lot of friends, a lot of former coaches, but never family. So what are your emotions going into this?
Exactly. It's first time for a lot of things, and it's life. But so I haven't given it a lot of thought, quite frankly, and obviously I knew it was coming. But the bottom line is this. To your point, it's the best I can come up with. What is weird. Coming back here and, whether it be Barry Alvarez, I guess the first year, Bill Snyder the year two, Dan McCarney, Bob Stoops, 4 guys that I worked with, and, Bob played for us on top of it. Tremendous respect for all those guys, and it's a weird dynamic, but the bottom line is this, the reality is when you get to game day, that's what's silly about coaches exchanging greetings and all that. I fully know what the other coach wants to do, and just like he knows what I want to do and how we hope the day goes. So, it's really probably not a great time for a family reunion or just even, seeing old friends. And, everybody's cordial, but, the bottom line is we all got business to take care of on Saturday. And we'll just see where it all goes. But I think his experience has been good, everything I know about it. And I'm just, as a parent, I'm glad he's with good people. And Mike's a guy I've got a lot of respect for.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. With everything Cade's been through, the two season-ending injuries, then this injury, like, how do you get a sense for just how he is mentally at this point of how is he doing? How is he able to kind of just process things? And
yeah, you've heard me say multiple times that the worst thing in coaching, from my experience, is guys dealing with injuries. And usually it's not to this extreme. Usually you're talking about, maybe a couple weeks, and that's disappointing, or sometimes season ending, which is disappointing. To have a stack of them, it's just there's nothing you can say. And all you can do is try to support the people involved. It's really hard. It's really hard. And again, especially with a collegiate athlete at this level, which I'd never played at, the investment they make, the amount of time, energy, all the things that they dedicate to having a chance to get out there and compete, and to not have that come. And it's nobody's fault. It's just what it is. It's part of the game, unfortunately. And it's hard. So all you can do is try to support them. And also, I think, support the message, which goes back to, our first program goal is for every guy to graduate. And if you look at all of our propaganda, if you will, our mantras, whatever it may be, philosophy, there's nothing about playing in the NFL, just nothing, because that's a byproduct of being a really good player, and it means you got the right genetics, and you really did a great job with all the stuff that opportunity that came your way, and it's still such a small percentage, and then the odds that stand. So that's not part of our program deal. It's about graduating, being a good person, and hopefully having a great experience during the program. But it's hard to say, boy, my experience is great when I missed this game, that game, this game. It's just a hard part, but it's a reality of what we do. So long-winded answer, but I mean, we're just trying to support them in every way, just like we are with anybody that's dealing with injuries, because it's hard, and it's really lonely too. It's a lonely place to be.
Just real quick, I wanted to clear up the QB depth chart, because I was surprised to hear that Marco's back. So would Marco go into that backup spot, or would he be behind Jackson?
No, Jackson's going to, I assume Jackson's going to start. I think we'll start the way we finished. It's probably the best way I can put it. I mean, he finished, right, out in California. So that's kind of where I see it. Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll see who can do what. But, yeah, if we were playing tomorrow, that's how it would be. Gotcha. We expect, I think, everybody else has a chance outside of Brendan.
Gotcha.
He for sure is not playing this week.
Okay.
Yep.
My actual question may not even have much of an answer to it, but
okay.
In the season, maybe you like that. With a season like this where you've had so many injuries, and where, I mean, injuries have just piled up at so many key positions for you, is there anything as a coaching staff or as a staff as a whole to be learned or gleaned in terms of training practices, anything like that? Or when you have a string of all these injuries, is it just purely bad luck, misfortune, and that's all there is to it?
Yeah, I don't know that we've had extreme amount, but when they all hit one position, and 04 is our running back spot, we just got decimated there. And there was nothing scientific about it. It's just, each injury is typically its own story, just kind of like each game and each season is its own story. But when they do hit one position, which at times they do, it magnifies things a little bit. Certainly our quarterback position's been affected. So, you just deal with that. But, part of our annual process, and even weekly process, but more so annual process, you look at every segment of the program. Are we doing something? And, we're really, I was going to say, training the same as we were in 02, but probably not as hard, and we don't practice as long and as we did back then. We had more players back then, but basically the program's been pretty similar to 26 years now, and the way we go about things. And I bring up 02 only in the sense that was the one rare year where we had very little problems with injuries. I know we had a cornerback bump there somewhere in the way, but outside of that, it's pretty much the same guys started every week. And it's when you can get into that groove, that's a good thing. It really helps your chances of being successful. But that's not the reality. Usually, you got to deal with things week to week, and the teams that can handle that, the best are ones that are going to be successful. And that's something we talk to our guys about every August. You never know what the bumps are going to be during the course of the year. Injuries always play into that. Who can handle it the best?
Oh, Chad likes to go again. Okay. Your last answer confused me a little bit on the quarterback.
I'll go back to clearly cloudy. I like that phrase. Yeah.
Well, okay.
That's how we feel.
You said Jackson would start, but Cade's on the depth chart. Are you saying Jackson Do you know who's starting?
If we were playing right now, it'd be Jackson. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what
the game.
I'll know on Friday. You probably won't, but I will. What's gonna take place?
So
yeah.
We talked to Tim Lester last week, and we said, "Would you feel comfortable?" And he's like, "I don't know about Jackson." So how much better has he gotten?
Learned to love him.
How much?
we went through the same thing last year.
How much more comfortable are you maybe now than you were a week ago?
Oh, a hell of a lot more comfortable. Yeah. I mean, it's like, if you knew what we knew about the last time, just because of the lack of, I'm not saying this in a negative way towards Jackson at all. Just what I can tell you is like, I mean, I hate that phrase too. I apologize for saying what I can tell you. But what I will say is this, okay, he hadn't gotten any reps. Once we started, doing game prep, 2 guys get the reps, and that was, obviously the first 2 guys. So even Marco was watching. He was holding a clipboard and watching, and Jackson was working the scout team. So I thought, he did some really good things out in that last ball game. Jackson did, and he's got talent. He can throw the football. You guys saw that. So now it's a matter of, thank goodness we had a bye week and got a chance to get him more comfortable and schooled. And if he ends up being our guy, we'll try to put a plan together. Features what he can do and keep him out of the danger areas maybe, and not have him doing calculus problems out there if he's not ready for that. But we went through this. If there's good news, we went through the same exercise a year ago, and came out of it okay. So you just deal with the cards that are dealt you, and you just kind of play them accordingly. And in this case, we're not sure what it's going to look like, but we'll know as the week goes on. Yep.
Hey, Kirk. Ellie Clough, Hawkeye Beacon. To ask a little bit more about Jackson. To quote you, you said you're a hell of a lot more comfortable this time around than you were against UCLA. What makes you more comfortable? What has he shown in the last
I've never seen him in the game. Start there, and that's only because he's never been in the game. I was actually teasing him this morning about that, because he is, I think, our only, TJ Hall kind of is Californian, right? Fresno. That's California, but it's more Midwest. It's not like, California we all think about. But Jackson's, the Rose Bowl, grew up with all that stuff. And I just teased him about, did you ever think you'd be playing in the Rose Bowl this year? And, he had to admit that was kind of a far-fetched thing, certainly. And I'd never met him till August when he showed up, or late July, whenever it might have been. I'm pointing here because his mom and dad met them here, too. So, yeah, I mean, we've seen him play now. I mean, he was out there, and I thought he did a really admirable job for a guy who has not had a lot of work. I thought he did a good job. He can throw it, seemed composed, and, again, he's got a week to go. So here we'll let it rip. Whoever's in there, we'll let it rip.
Mitch Vick, KJN's a little off topic, but I wonder if you could just speak about your relationship with Mark Farley as he gets ready to wrap up his career at Northern Iowa this weekend. Yeah,
I should have mentioned that, quite frankly, at the top, and we're kind of like the same vintage in certain ways. The only difference is he had a really good career as a player, and mine was pretty nondescript. But both linebackers, all that stuff. But I got a lot of respect for Mark. What a great job he's done. What a great program that's been for quite some time. And he has withstood the test of time. So we had a chance to communicate. I guess it was a week ago Sunday, maybe. Is that when everything kind of hit? But just happy for him, and it's rare, in this, you guys follow the news closer than I do. It's hard in this profession to leave on your own terms, and happy for him. Nothing but respect. He's been down here a lot, comes to our camps, things like that. Just like a lot of the FCS coaches do, and he's really had a great career. It's a great program, great tradition, and he certainly has added to it. So, congratulations to him.
Kirk, Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report. Wanted to get some clarity with Cade. And you said he practiced Sunday. Did he have
clearly cloudy? Yeah.
Did he have a setback, or is he just still in that process of coming back?
Still processing back. So he's been cleared to play, and whether or not he can play effectively or not, we'll see. We'll just see how the week goes. Yep. But we're prepared for anything, quite frankly. Yep.
When Mark retired, he mentioned the changing nature of college football. How, for a coach who's been in the game as long as you have and as long as Coach Farley had, how has it been adapting to the changes of late?
That's interesting. I mean, got asked that a couple of years ago, as a experienced coach, not an old coach, but an experienced coach, what keeps you interested? I mean, every day there's something to pique your curiosity and something you had maybe envisioned to deal with. And the terrain in our in college football. It's kind of was alluding to a little bit right there as I wrapped it up. The trend in college football is changing dramatically, and it's changing fast. In some ways, in not a good way. I am semi-optimistic. Probably, caps on the semi part of it, but I think at least we have an opportunity maybe to rein things, not rein them in, but like provide some structure, which right now we're badly needing. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's a concerning time. The game itself hasn't changed. The people involved have been, that's what keeps you, it makes you enjoy the whole thing. It's just the stuff on the outside is really changing right now, and I'm not sure in a way that's beneficial for a lot of people. And then unfortunately there's some people benefiting that probably don't deserve to be benefiting. Outside forces, I'm not talking about athletes or programs. But, we've created this environment that's, maybe not real healthy right now. Hopefully there's an opportunity to get some structure. And I've said many times before, the NFL does have structure. Say what you want about the NFL. A, they make money, which is what they're in the business for. And then B, they have structure, like they have clear structure. And, that's something we're lacking right now. So hopefully we'll get there, and that'll make things a little bit better. But, it's part of life. It's always going to change. And, college sports is just part of that.
John Steppe, Gazette again. You were mentioning having a Doak Walker semifinalist, having Joe Moore semifinalist. What's kind of your thoughts on the way that Tim Lester has kind of reestablished, reinvigorated this run-first identity, and what's the key to avoiding a situation like UCLA where the run game really doesn't get going?
Yeah, a couple things. Give Tim credit, and he spoke to that last week. I know I didn't see it, but I read his comments. And he's got a really good system. That's obviously why we hired him. I tried to do some research there and felt good about that. But I think the bigger picture, and Tim made this very clear last Wednesday, and I'd reaffirm this, and I said this back in August. I think a couple things. First of all, the offensive line is in a better place than it's been the last couple of years. Nobody's issues. It's just, attrition, injuries. It's been tough. So we're finally able to maybe play at a level where the proficiency is a little more like what we hope. And then you've got a back who's in his third year instead of being a first-year guy who is kind of hit or miss, and he's always been a great kid. I think Caleb's an outstanding young man. But, the lack of consistencies, inexperience, immaturity, et cetera, and that's the benefit of being older. So our line's benefiting from that, and Caleb's benefiting from that, and the rest of the room's doing a good job too. But, he's the one carrying the heaviest load. And then UCLA just did a great job, and, the bottom line in that game is, you name the phase, and they did a better job than we did coaching or playing. So, end of discussion on that one. Credit to them.
Last question,
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. It seemed like there were parts of that UCLA game that were similar defensively to the Michigan State game, in particularly tackling. When you look back and evaluated it, what do you feel like kind of caused that?
Football 101. And at one point in my life, I was a defensive-minded person. Football 101, if you can't tackle, you're not going to be any good on defense, and that's pure and simple. And I know some NFL teams get away with that. There is a rule, and then, if you can cover well enough, you don't have to tackle. But just in general terms, if you don't tackle well, forget about it. And then rule number 2 is if they run the ball, if you let your opponent run the ball at will, it's going to be a tough day. Chances are. So, we're really guilty of both those things, and until you straighten those things out or go into the game with the right mindset, then it's going to be hard to expect to play the kind of defense you want to be. And it's a little bit like our team right now. I can give you evidence over the last month where we've looked like a really good football team, and I can show you evidence where we're not so. So it's about consistency in approach. It's about consistency in performance, and consistency in coaching. Go right down the list. We all have ownership. So it's about, and that's what these last 2 games right now. The only one that matters is Saturday, but that's what it's about. You run that race each and every week. And that's the other thing I would emphasize, and that's part of the challenge about this day and age, and especially in November. Sometimes people forget this is a week-to-week deal, just like the NFL. And I think in that way we've become more like the NFL, where in general, if you're not right on the money, then you got a chance to come up disappointed. And that's always been the case here. I can go back to 81. I was talking to somebody this morning, one of our players, who told me his mom was born in 86. So we're talking about, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay. So it was interesting. But I go back to 81, my first real college experience, and that's been the case. I mean, especially, I got however many years here, 36 or whatever it is. One thing I know about here, like, we're always the underdogs. Like, we have to be the underdogs because that's who we are. There might be an exception or two along the way, not many. And if we don't have that right attitude and that right mindset going into a game, that could be dangerous. So, at least the bad tackling or whatever, you got to be at your best. And that's what the game tries to teach you. And if you don't learn it, you get humbled. So, end of discussion there. So I'll wrap it up. I'm getting the hook. But also want to pay tribute to, there are students here, right? I got these lights. I can't see anything. So congratulations to you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. And future journalists right there. So there you go. Mingle. All right. Thank you. See you guys.
Thanks, Kirk.